What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we're looking at Bittensor, Fartcoin, and Stacks. These three cryptos have been pumping a lot over the last few days, and I'm sure you're all wondering what's going on. Why are they pumping? How high are they going to go? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market, specifically of these three cryptos. If your analysis is different, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. With that being said, guys, let's jump straight into it here. When it comes to Bittensor, there's no specific catalyst that's been causing Tau to pump, but it is really interesting that recently Barry Silbert, who's of course the CEO and founder of Digital Currency Group, which is basically one of the biggest companies in crypto, he recently did an interview with Raoul Pal where he was basically, I mean, for lack of a better term, he was basically shilling Tau. And I watched that full interview, and it was pretty interesting in the sense that like these very big players are kind of getting behind Bittensor. The official narrative was that there was no VC raise, no early funding or whatever. This is technically not true. There was basically kind of like a OTC sale of Tau from the developers to investors. I'm not sure if Digital Currency Group was one of them. Wouldn't surprise me if it was, but there's been multiple reports about that, and we did cover Bittensor in detail on the main channel on Coin Bureau. So you can check out the review there if you want more details. But let's just say that there's a lot of hype around Tau. It is pretty interesting in the sense that it's basically like a decentralized AI network. The simplest way to understand it is that it's kind of like the Bitcoin of AI, I guess, is the very, very simple kind of like highest level way of explaining it. And it has the same supply as Bitcoin and all that type of stuff. So that's part of why I think a lot of people are kind of hyped up, that it's kind of being interpreted as the blue chip for AI within the crypto industry, which is what makes things really interesting because, of course, Tau is not the only AI cryptos that's been pumping, but we'll get to that in a second. First thing I want to do here, guys, is take a close look at Tau. This is on the weekly chart. I have the Bollinger Band moving average, or I guess the Bollinger Band's indicators enabled, and you can see that the Bollinger Band moving average is very close to being hit. Some of you will know that the Bollinger Band moving average on both short-term and long-term time frames is a key level for many cryptos. So in this case, we can see that this level is currently around 350, 360, give or take. And I suspect that Tau will probably have a hard time getting above that level. We can even see that just using our eyes here, you can see that we could even draw another trend line here, that there's a pretty strong resistance somewhere here around 350, let's say, give or take. So this kind of coincides also to the Bollinger Band moving average again on the weekly. But if we do see Tau get above that level, which I do think is possible, I do think it's going to continue grinding up to the upper level of this range, which would be somewhere around $600. And if it gets above that, which I actually do think is likely, then Tau could go as high as somewhere, I would say, around, I don't know, $1,100 or $1,200, which would probably be the cycle top, I think. And I do personally think that's going to come in the next couple of months. It's going to take some time to get there. But in case you're wondering what potential cycle top for Tau would be, I would say it's around, somewhere around the 1,100, 1,200 range. And simple reason being that all we have to do is take the difference between these two levels, around $200 here at the bottom. We have around $700 here at the top. The difference between those two levels is around 500. Let's, shave off 100 just for the sake of being conservative. And that gives us a target of around 1,200 when we add the difference between those two levels to the top range there. Anyways, guys, as you might have noticed, we're using Binance there. Binance does offer Tau. If you're looking to trade Tau, then be sure to take advantage of our deal. It's the biggest deal that you can get on Binance. It's a 20% trading fee discount with up to $600 in bonuses. Taking advantage of this deal is super simple. Just click the sign up now button, or just click the link in the description. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. Just enter your email or phone number. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. It's super simple. You get a trading fee discount. The exchange gets a new user, and we get a cut of your trading fees. We're not sponsored by anyone here. We're not being paid by any crypto projects or anything like that. So don't worry. We're being pretty objective here in our analysis. And you can check out also our other exchange deals if you're not sure, or you can't use Binance, or you don't like Binance or whatever else. We have lots of deals on other exchanges that support U.S. residents as well as UK residents and whoever else tends to be banned from these offshore exchanges, let's say. Moving on now to Fartcoin. Of course, there haven't really been any major updates there in terms of a lot of people. I guess I'll start by saying that a lot of people interpret Fartcoin as kind of just being a meme coin. I don't think that's accurate. I think that that it's more related to the AI agents narrative. And of course, this ties in to what I was just saying, that Bittensor is not the only AI crypto that's been rallying. We're seeing a lot of AI cryptos rallying, and I would say that Fartcoin falls into that category because, of course, it was made by this a truth terminal, this AI agent, chatbot, or whatever you want to call it. And that's, well, they didn't create it, but it basically incubated and pumped up this Fartcoin. As far as I understand, it was not the creator, but it did pump it up. Regardless, guys, we can look at Fartcoin here on the weekly and see, like, quite clearly that it's actually looking pretty bullish. It's above the Bollinger Band Moving Average on the weekly, which is pretty huge because most cryptos are not above this level. Even Bitcoin is not above this level, but Fartcoin is. And even when we zoom out to the monthly here, of course, we lose the Bollinger Bands, but that's fine because in this case, it's pretty crazy. What we're basically looking at, in my view, is kind of something like a bull flag potentially here playing out. I know it's a little bit tricky to see, so I'll throw on some trend lines here, and you can see that you're seeing something approximating. Again, it's still a little bit tricky to see, but you're seeing something approximating a bull flag, basically. And of course, the target in that case, that would be, geez, I think somewhere, well, close to $2 here on the monthly, which makes sense. It's a key psychological level, so it's possible that Fartcoin could still double from this level. When that's going to happen, who knows? I would not count on that happening anytime soon. I think it'll probably take at least a few more weeks, maybe a month or two. But I do think that that will coincide to some hype, let's say, around the AI agents narrative. And of course, zooming into the weekly here, if Fartcoin was to get above the $2 level, which would be pretty crazy. If it did, then it could rally as high as $3 or $4. Again, just by basically taking the difference between the starting point and the resistance, which would be somewhere around $2. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. But we'll have to take things one step at a time. For now, Fartcoin is looking really bullish, and I do think it's going to continue grinding higher up to $2 in the coming weeks. So that's definitely one to watch. And again, I do think the catalyst for that will probably be something related to AI agents. So if you feel like you missed the boat on Fartcoin or whatever, which in my opinion it's not going to be a very big return. You're looking at a 2x roughly. But there's other AI agent cryptos with way more potential. So I would suggest looking into those. Not financial advice, but you probably have a better chance with other AI agent cryptos. And Fartcoin is kind of like an early indicator that we will see a rally in that niche. And Bittensor also, I would say. Anyways, moving on now to Stacks. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Stacks is basically you can just think of it for sake of simplicity as a layer 2 for Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin's recent rally has STX going pretty crazy, and that's not too surprising to me. This is actually reminiscent of what we saw. I forget if it was in late 2023 or early 2024, but basically when Bitcoin was first kind of getting off the ground, some of you guys might remember that STX, the Stacks crypto, was rallying like crazy alongside Bitcoin, and we're kind of seeing history repeat in that sense. And I do think it kind of foreshadows, like how STX was one of the first movers in terms of altcoins because it was rallying along Bitcoin, and then other things started rallying after. I do think we're starting to see a similar signal in that sense. Anyways, guys, looking here at STX on the weekly, again with the Bollinger Bands on Binance, super simple. And in case you're wondering, you can just add that technical indicator by clicking on this little icon up here, and you just click the bull, this indicator here. You just click it. Everything is default. I don't change any settings there, and you can see these indicators yourself. But anyways, you can see here that on the weekly, it looks like STX could rally up to around $1 in the short term, which would be around a 40% gain, not too shabby. Whether it gets above that level, I think is a little bit too soon to say. If we zoom out, we can see there's quite a bit of resistance, around around $1. Around $1.1, let's say. It seems to be quite a bit of resistance, which makes sense. But what I personally think is going to happen is if we zoom out to the monthly here, I actually do think that STX will at least retest the Bollinger Band Moving Average on the monthly, which is around $1.5. So that could be potentially a 2x from its current price, which is not too shabby. But again, that would probably take a couple months to play out. Whereas the shorter term move up to let's say $1, that could happen in the next week or two potentially. And then could there be a small rejection and then it keeps rolling over? Sure. But I guess long story short is just watch for now. Just watch for that roughly for that $1 target, and if STX can get above that, or maybe it'll hit that target, get a little bit of rejection, trade around a little bit, and then it'll try for another leg higher. And if that does happen, then I do think that the next target will be $1.5. And after that, we'll have to wait and see. In terms of a cycle top for STX, I think something around $6 would probably make a lot of sense. If we just take this whole structure and assume that this is kind of like a massive cup and handle pattern, then just based on the measurements there, you'd be looking at around $5 $5-6. You can look up cup and handle pattern on your own time, and maybe next time I'll take a little bit more time to go through that. But if you did make it this far, guys, and you did find that information helpful, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.